Just when you thought the world couldn't look any more like a ticking time bomb, boom, literally. First up, an Iranian port explodes into flames under mysterious circumstances, but I'm sure it's nothing to worry about, right? Meanwhile, right here at home, America's so-called guardians of justice in Wisconsin are throwing a tantrum. Radical judges openly rebelling after one of their own finally gets cuffed because in their America, judges are apparently above the law. But if you thought that circus wasn't wild enough yet, one quote: "It's been a complete bloodbath." DC goes into panic, and I'm going to bring you the breaking news on this story in just 1 minute. Another day, another explosion, another group of untouchables throwing hissy fits because real accountability finally showed up and they aren't happy about it at all. If you missed my video yesterday, please step back and watch it if you're a restricted republic. If not, I'll put a link above. Very important video to watch. Which meltdown is your favorite today? You let me know sometime now or at the end of the video. Iran's explosion, Wisconsin's rebellion, or what Trump just did to the DOJ. Sound off below. Don't forget to absolutely smash that like button or put a comment in if you're a restricted republic, because you know how much big tech just likes to accidentally hide everything, especially when it's the truth. But this truth can be hard to consume for some. A major explosion, as you see here, has been reported at the port of Shahid Raji, one of two sections within the port of Abbas, located on the north shore of the Strait of Hormuz in southern Iran. I apologize. What's the impact of this? It's significant. It's their second largest port going into Iran. Handles 85% of Iran's total cargo traffic. Disruptions would effectively spark supply chain disruptions for Iran's import-export economy, causing shortages on consumer goods, industrial equipment, food, medicines. Iran has a limited availability to alternative ports, which are going to have trouble even consuming a fraction of that volume. This is a major issue. Oil and fuel export disruption. The port is a major terminal for refined oil products, gasoline being one of them. Iran already faces sanctions on crude oil. Losing its refined product export capacity would cut off a key source of hard currency for them, and this will intensify Iran's already precarious foreign exchange crisis, sending everything into an absolute shockwave. I've looked through every video I could, tried to find you all the clips available. There is the moment of the explosion. Now that what you saw there was the very moment of impact, the moment of explosion, and the devastation and scale is hard to consume. But breaking headlines now coming out and saying that the port and the explosion was all linked to a missile fuel shipment, killing now 25, injuring more than 800. Just the tip of the iceberg in stories that broke overnight. Again, I covered this yesterday in great detail. Wisconsin judge arrests what we know and what they wanted you to know. And I gave you all the details. Once ICE showed up, judge screaming in the hallway, sends the ICE agents to the chief judge. And while they do so, she brings the lawyer and the defendant into her chamber and shows them a back door to allow them to escape. Now, ICE agents captured the suspect. Of course, that judge now being thrown in handcuffs, along with the former New Mexico judge and his wife thrown in handcuffs. And of course, what does Wisconsin do? Now that the affidavits are out, Justice Department announcing 2 cases involving judicial misconduct and obstruction of law enforcement. Well, they throw a tantrum. Wisconsin Judge Monica Isom, I believe, threatens not to hold court over Hannah Dugan's arrest. This is how they act. Guidance request or I refuse to hold court. You see it right there. I no longer feel protected or respected as a judge in this administration. Is that if there is no guidance for us and no support for us, I will refuse to hold court in Branch 2 in Sawyer County. Well, that's a reaction, I guess. But it wasn't the only reaction. Milwaukee County Judge Anna Barrow Schroeder also throwing her support behind Judge Monica, writing her a letter and saying, I'm going to take my courtroom and we're going to maybe deploy some new rules, such as listening sessions to new courthouse policies. Well, I wonder what those policies are. I guess the rule of law and order is just being thrown out the window. But if that wasn't high enough, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers ordered all state employees to obstruct ICE and other federal law enforcement investigations, saying do not answer their questions. Oh, he gave great guidance. Put a note out from his deputy secretary stating we've received questions from state employees regarding what to do in case of an encounter with federal agents at work. Similar to other public entities that issued guidance, we are providing the enclosed information in great detail. What does it tell them to do specifically? Refuse to answer any questions, even about known individuals ICE is seeking. Deny agents access to paper files and computers, even if they present a warrant. Block agents from entering non-public areas unless they produce a judicial warrant. Demand agents sit in isolated public areas and force them to wait indefinitely while contacting attorneys. Order agents to leave and return later if a state lawyer isn't immediately reachable. Well, this is getting ugly quick, isn't it? I guess all focus is on the illegal migrants. None is now focusing on the rule of law and order. It's all about stopping ICE, even though the head of ICE herself, Ice Barbie herself, her purse stolen. You heard the story, was stolen by an illegal migrant. But that's not enough yet, of course. Because no one is above the law. It takes on a whole new meaning now, doesn't it? Remember when it came to Trump, their statement resonated, no one's above the law, but now I guess it means something different to him, doesn't it? Of course, Trump not backing down. Oh no. He's putting out the reels coming out of ICE.
People illegally can self-deport the easy way, or they can get deported the hard way, and that.
Ooh, nice message from Trump and his administration. They're not going to back down. Illegal aliens, download the CBP Home app, now available on all app stores. Do it the easy way, or get deported the hard way. And right now, they have no choice but to not stop. Because we finally have handcuffs, don't we? No one should be surprised by the arrest of 2 judges. I have said many times within the past few months that people could choose to support illegal immigration and not assist ICE in removing criminal illegal aliens from our communities, but don't cross that line. If you actively impede our enforcement efforts, or if you knowingly harbor or conceal illegal aliens from ICE, you will be prosecuted. These actions are felonies. More to come. Tom Homan, U.S. Border Czar, and he is so spot on that response. I can't even state, but Pam Bondi has something to say about this also.
No one is above the law. In Milwaukee, an illegal alien from Mexico was in court being prosecuted for domestic violence. He was charged with violently attacking a man, punching him in the face 30 times, strangling him, and then attacking a woman by punching her in the face with his closed fist. Both victims were brave enough to be in court. The judge, Hannah Dugan, learned that ICE was outside to arrest him after court. She is now charged with obstruction of justice for sneaking this criminal defendant, an illegal alien, out a back exit through her chambers to avoid his arrest, leaving the victims and prosecutors sitting in court all morning waiting on justice. In New Mexico, law enforcement was tipped off that Judge Joel Cano had a TDA member living in his home. The judge and his wife allegedly gave him access to assault rifles, one with a suppressor, to go to a shooting range to perfect his skills. Law enforcement found pictures on his cell phones and social media showing multiple tattoos and gang insignia. They also found a picture of him with the judge. He had mocked a $5,000 reward to catch TDA members. They also had pictures of 2 victims who had been decapitated. Their hands were cut off and their bodies had also been mutilated. The judge, now charged with obstruction. Post Miranda, he admitted he destroyed one of the cell phones with a hammer and then took it to a city dumpster down the street to dispose of the evidence. The Trump administration will fight for victims. The rule of law is very simple. It doesn't matter what line of work you're in. If you break the law, we will follow the facts and we will prosecute you.
I don't think I could put it any more succinctly myself. How about you? Amazing statement from Pam Boddy. They're not messing around anymore. Do me a favor. If you're tired of lies and the cover-ups, make sure you go ahead and smash that like button. It means the world to me. It tells big tech you're not falling for it anymore. No, these are the messages you want to hear. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I certainly hope you will. Those of you who have joined as members here, thank you so much. Those who have provided super thanks, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And those of you who have followed me and Lisa over to our platform that we own, restrictedrepublic.com, that is absolutely incredible. The platform continues to grow. It is truly our area to provide you everything, unfiltered, uncensored, no commercials, no interruptions, every broadcast we do, daily exclusive content, and you, I promise, once you are there, you'll actually get the news that matters in the format you deserve, fully referenced and researched, and we work day and night to provide it to you. And the reason we funded it ourselves is because we wanted to be beholden to no one. You want to hear news the way it was supposed to be presented to you? Go to restrictedrepublic.com today, and you will never ever turn back from news the way you deserve it. Now let's get back to this broadcast. More strange breaking news. Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent abuse survivors, dies by suicide. This story gets stranger by the day, huh? Epstein victim who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell found dead. Media silent. Carolyn Adriano, a key witness in the case against Jeffrey Epstein's associate Ghislaine Maxwell, has passed away. Her death occurred earlier this year, and it was not marked by an obituary or funeral service. Following her death, an investigation was launched by the West Palm Beach, Florida Police Department. Spokesman comes out and says the investigation is nearing its conclusion, and her death was the result of an accidental overdose. And remember that warning from Virginia Giuffre herself. I am making it publicly known that this in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I have made this known to my therapist and GP. It's something happens to me. In the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted, and all I ask is, where are the Epstein files? Why are they not fully released yet? What are we waiting for? How many more innocent victims will not get their due justice? If we're worried about due process, let's give it to them, please, and stop holding it back. But another victory before we get to our primary story today. A victory for Trump. World Bank coming out. Developing countries should fast-track U.S. trade deals, says the president. More specifically, the bank has been advising developing countries to get a deal done quickly with the United States, and to then focus attention on cutting trade barriers and boosting regional flow of goods. You need to negotiate trade systems with the U.S. at the earliest possible opportunity, he said. If you delay, it hurts everyone. Trump's tariff has roiled financial markets, sent volatility surging, and spooked investors and consumers, but it appears it's having its effect, isn't it? Who's taking the leadership role now in the world economy? China? Russia? Oh no. President Donald J. Trump. So hang in there, folks. I told you it would be a rocky road, but now even the World Bank coming out and saying, hold on a second. You better start negotiating with them, and you better do it fast. The exact result he wanted. Also going viral now, Cardinal Robert Sarah is the man who sensible people would choose as the next pope. He understands how rejecting your sex is Luciferian. Conservatives are told they are racist, yet most I speak to want this man as pope. Interesting, isn't it? And from what I've studied him, I want him as pope too. Now, I want you to listen to, actually, you're going to listen to me say his words because I don't want to get copyright for the track that's playing in the background, but listen to what this man says. In an interview here, one of the front runners again for Pope, Cardinal Robert Sarah, is a hardliner against mass migration. Listen, or I'll read the transcript here. As he goes on, what worries you? You know, the biggest worry, Europe doesn't want anymore or has lost the sense of its origins. It has lost its roots. And a tree without roots, it dies. And I'm afraid the West is dying. There are plenty of signs. You see plenty of signs. No more natality. You are invaded still by other cultures, other peoples, which will progressively dominate you by their numbers and completely change your culture, your convictions, and your values. Just let those words resonate. I'm afraid the West is dying. You're being invaded by other cultures, other peoples, which will progressively dominate you by their numbers and completely change your culture, your convictions, and your values. And to that, I give an absolute amen. And it's why Trump is pushing so powerfully against this. And it's why the left is attempting to resist it. Because remember, they have shown every inclination that they don't desire the great Republic of the United States of America. They want it to be this melting pot of multiple cultures coming in to diffuse our very identity. And that should never be allowed or deemed as acceptable, but it is specifically what they're doing. So to have a front runner for Pope believing in the same, I don't know if I've seen any other candidate that deserves it. But what say you? Put it in the comments below. If there's another Pope you believe should be in the front position, put that in there also. Comments shows people that you care. That's why I ask for them in every video, because I want to keep the conversation flowing. But Trump did something else amazing yesterday. Such a simple statement, such a common sense fact. Listen in here.
You said when you came in, you were going to make Washington, D.C. great again.
Right.
One of the issues we've got right now is we understand there might be an imminent deal between the owner of the Washington football team, whatever you want to call them now, Commanders, and locally in getting the Redskins back to D.C. and RFK Stadium. That's on federal property.
Right.
Are you going to be involved in that negotiation?
Yeah.
And would one of the stipulations be they change their name back to the Redskins?
Oh, I say, well, that's a little bit, nobody's asked me that one. Look, I think when the Indian population is a great part of this country, a great heritage. And we were talking about Massapequa, Long Island, the Chiefs, they call themselves the Chiefs, or the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not changing their name. And frankly, I see nothing wrong with it. They call them the Warriors, and not that team, but a lot of other teams, and all of these Indian surnames and different names. And I'm saying that I think that's a positive thing. And when you go back to Indians, they polled this. They don't know why these names are being taken off. They're trying to. I think it's degrading to the Indian population, and it's a great population, and they like when they're, called by various names. Now, Washington, the Redskins, perhaps that's a little bit different, but I can tell you that I spoke to people of Indian heritage that love that name and they love that team, and I think it's I think it's a superior name to what they have right now, and it had heritage behind it. It had something special.
Do you see his focus is continuing to be on heritage, culture, our roots? And that is the critical element to what we lost in this country. We lost it a long time ago. And Trump is simply trying to bring it back, and we need to bring it back. The statues that were removed need to be put back up. We need our own identity as a nation, and all they've done is tried to strip it down. And they also tried to get away from any Christian roots in this country whatsoever, shred it and demolish it. And simply, freedom of religion is one of the fundamental pillars of our Constitution. To demolish that and everything else the left did just shows you all they were trying to do and continue to try to do is to dissolve our culture. And they've done it through weaponization of multiple departments. One of the biggest was the Department of Justice. So this story to most would fall on deaf ears, but it is one of the most critical stories happening right now. Trump upends DOJ's Civil Rights Division, sparking bloodbath in senior ranks. Trump's hand-picked head of the division has outlined priorities that are dramatically at odds with the way past administration have enforced civil rights laws, even the first Trump administration. But he took a lesson here. The Trump administration has quietly transformed the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, forcing out a majority of career managers and implementing new priorities that current and former officials say abandon a decades-long mission of enforcing laws to prohibit discrimination in hiring, housing, and voting rights. Now think back on that statement. For the past several decades, have any of those improved in your eyes? Workplace hiring, housing, or voting rights? And your answer should be put below because it will drive this decision and why Trump made it. More than a dozen senior lawyers, many with decades of experience working under presidents of both parties, have been reassigned. The current and former officials say some have resigned in frustration after they were moved to less desirable roles unrelated to their expertise, according to sources. Well, it appears your expertise wasn't giving we the people what we desired and we deserved, nor was it supporting the great Constitution of this United States of America, in our humble opinion. So your reassignment seems very applicable to me. It's been a complete bloodbath. DC's rocked by this, and yet it's falling on deaf ears. It's not hitting mainstream headlines. It's not sexy enough, but it's critically important. Last week, President Donald Trump's handpicked head of the division issued a series of memos outlining priorities that are dramatically at odds with the way both Republicans and Democrat administrations have enforced civil rights laws, including the first Trump administration. Rather than focusing, here it is, on enforcing federal laws against discrimination, the division is now charged with pursuing priorities laid out in a series of Trump executive orders. What a thought. The DOJ is there to support Trump executive orders that are enforcing the mandate for change that we voted for him to implement. That's shocking, isn't it? So don't get misled by this story, including keeping men out of women's sports and ending radical indoctrination in K through 12 schooling, according to the memos, which were issued by the division head, Harmeet Dillon, and obtained by NBC News. So in this case, I guess the bloodbath just ain't so bad now, is it? The story goes on. Dillon is a conservative cultural warrior who represented Trump in challenging the results of the 2020 election and ardently backed his baseless claims of fraud. You see how the mainstream media spins this? Be prepared. They're going to continue to. The changes have not been publicly announced by the Justice Department, as Reuters first reported some of them on Tuesday. See, there's been a few articles, but you see how they're going to frame this discussion. U.S. Justice Department reassigns about a dozen civil rights attorneys amid shakeup, says sources. When I look at these articles and I review them, I always go to the closing quote or thought process to see what the lean is. And what's the lean in this one? They're going to eliminate the Civil Rights Division as it was built to exist, according to them. The only purpose now will be to victimize the very people it was created to protect. Really? Really? Because Trump has shown any inclination towards discriminating any race. I'd like to see the examples, please. Because you don't throw out these quotes and expect America just to consume it. No, you see, unfortunately now America's found a brain, a spine, a backbone, and conviction. And that you don't like very much. So as Trump and his administration continue to bulldoze in what they call a bloodbath, let's put things in perspective, shall we? You have long since run away from the Constitution of the United States of America. You have long since not represented we the people. So for once, we are represented. And mainstream media will do everything in their power to continue to resonate to the masses that everything Trump is doing is evil. No, this is a battle of good versus evil. It's the only part of the story you actually have correct. But unfortunately, you put the hat on the wrong side of what is actually evil and working against the mandate for change that we the people granted to President Donald J. Trump. So quick question for you. Who do you think's panicking most right now? Drop a name in the comments. Because if you're seeing and you're loving the swamp finally sweat, make sure you continue to spread the word about this channel. Because here, this is no nonsense black and white presentation of fact. At least in the eyes of me and you and everyone who's joined us here. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.